right, I'll call this, it's 5 o'clock on 5th of May. I'd like to call this committee meeting of the Public and Safety Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Ron Dunwoody,
Here.
Gary Payson Jr.,
Here.
Dan Roberts.
Here.
We have 2 items on our agenda tonight. The first is discussion and possible decision regarding traffic visibility concern at the intersection of East Walworth Street and South Washington. Did everyone have a chance to look at the info that was in with the packet from Chief Christensen? Anything you want to say, Chief?
Well, I just don't know if Ken would like to speak, since I think he's here tonight, and maybe he can share his kind of input or before going into kind of what I discovered with my research.
I have no problem with that. If you want to come up, Ken, and just state your name and your address.
Either one.
Either one.
Okay. Excuse me. My name's Ken Goodrow. My address is 305 East 3rd Avenue, unit number 8, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, 53121. I've lived in Elkhorn for 5 years, and a little over 5 years. And driving around the city, and when I come into this intersection, I've used it frequently in the past, but now my routes have kind of changed a little bit and I'm using it a lot more. And it concerned me before, but now that I'm using it a lot more, I thought I'd bring it up to Scott and see what could be done there, because the sights or the vision that you need to see to cross that intersection at Walworth and Washington is very difficult because of the angled parking at the post office and then all the businesses up and down on the other side. And it's even exacerbated more when you have a large truck that's parked by anywhere up in there, because then you really got to get out in the intersection. And as I mentioned to Scott when I sent him the note, I don't know if there's been any incidents there. If there haven't been, maybe we've just gotten lucky. I'm sure everybody's very cautious when they go through that intersection, but, I think it's a concern, and, if I'm the first one raising it in the city, I'd be very surprised, but if I am, so be it. And, if you guys, I appreciate you, taking a look at this, and if there's anything that can be done, it'd be appreciated, I think, by myself and the other residents within the city. I don't come in here with any kind of an agenda, any kind of, this is what we need to have there. I don't have a clue. I just know that it's an area of concern, and I think it's something that needs to be done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions anybody has for me, or?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Chief, would you like to go over
Sure.
your findings?
Yeah, so obviously the intersection itself does present some kind of unique challenges, I would say, being downtown. As Ken pointed out, I think there's a couple problems with the intersection as far as the sight triangle at that intersection that unfortunately I don't know how you can best solve those issues, because when you pull up to that intersection and actually stop appropriately before that crosswalk, you do have the angle parking on both the 10 block of East Walworth as well as the 100 block. And it's my understanding that was done, the angle parking was done to try and maximize parking downtown for both the post office as well as the local businesses and visitors that do go to those businesses. So that's why the angle parking was put in place versus the parallel originally anyway. So you're trying to maximize the available parking space with the angle parking. And you couple that with the businesses are actually right on the right-of-way itself. So there is no setback necessarily for the businesses because of their location downtown and how Elkhorn, I think, came to be in existence initially. So you have those two kind of issues to try and deal with. I did go back, and I think, like Ken was saying, I think a lot of us that are from the area recognize those unique challenges with the intersection, and you kind of have to make that double stop in order to see appropriately. but I don't know if there's a solution to the problem. Unfortunately, we have not had a significant crash history at that intersection. If anything, and I didn't share this with Ken, I did speak with Ken before, but my bigger concern, the one that I've been keeping an eye on, is actually the intersection of West Walworth and Church Street, because we do have quite a few crashes there, but we have not met the merits to the 5 within 12 months. That would be, maybe correctable with a 4-way or multi-way stop. So I understand the concern, and maybe it is just a chance of luck that we have not had many crashes there. But I just don't know if there's any solution to it, because if anything, right now, I think if you were to put up a 4-way stop, I think it might be doing maybe just the opposite of what we want it to do, and that's reduce crashes, because we have not had, I guess, just a limited number, 3 within 3.5 years or whatever it's been. So I can answer any questions.
I would agree, I obviously go through that intersection at least once a weekend. And again, I take my time going out, I do double, triple stops because, not everybody's paying attention. But again, it is an interesting area to do, and there's not much you can do without eliminating parking, eliminating buildings.
Exactly.
And I don't think that's a solution there. Again, it doesn't meet the merits to do a study based on all the information that's been provided so far. As you brought up, another area is more concerned, but that's not on the agenda. If we had to do something, it'd probably be more of a focus on those types of areas versus this one. I mean, short of, you add more signs, but there's so many signs out there now.
Yeah, and I do appreciate you bringing it obviously to our attention as well, because it will, at least from a police department perspective, and I think from Matt's perspective, we'll keep an extra eye on the intersection itself to kind of update our crash data and take an extra eye to make sure it's not changing, the pattern. But I do appreciate you at least mentioning it as well, because sometimes it's one of those things that you just kind of overlook, unfortunately, too.
What if we consider possibly adding a sign right there in Washington says cross traffic doesn't stop? And I'm just thinking on my feet right now. But then you got to take down that bush right there, and over there.
I can take a look at the 3 crashes themselves to see if it was because they thought they were going to stop the traffic on Walworth Street, but I'm gonna venture a guess right now that it's not that they thought they just didn't see them.
Okay.
But I'll definitely take a look at those 3 crashes and report back.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, Ron, could I be heard?
Yes, sir.
I was going to say, what you talked about, just a reminder that cross traffic doesn't stop, number one. Number two, I've spent quite a bit of time in that particular intersection, like most of you have, and I for one have seen a ton of near misses, if you will. Was it a crash? Nope. But if I would have proceeded through the intersection, I'd have gotten smoked. And that's just me personally. So I was thinking maybe something we should consider doing, and I don't know how viable or feasible this is, but I took another look at this both in my car and out of my car after I got the email from Ken. Maybe we should consider expanding that line of sight triangle and removing at least one, if not all 4 of the parking spaces closest to that intersection, because as you all have mentioned, larger vehicles, delivery vehicles, big SUVs, they're only getting bigger. Pickup trucks are only getting bigger. And if any of those vehicles are in those 4 last spots, if you will, before you approach that intersection, that really limits your line of sight, even if you do the double stop, because you stop and you got to try to kind of look out and scooch forward a little bit and keep looking. My second thing I would add, go ahead.
Can I stop you real quick?
Please, go ahead, Chief.
So, because Matt had just brought up another concern from another downtown business as far as lack of handicap stalls.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe currently we have a handicap on North Washington, the last or the north stall prior to the alley entrance.
Yep,
Maybe an option to consider would be moving that location, because then it's still a long way to go. But we were taking a look at what Delavan has done in their angle parking and their handicap stalls, and they make their handicap parallel. So maybe we could consider moving the handicap stall to in front of what is now Vasili's Restaurant there on the corner, and
Okay.
making that parallel so it open up, so to speak,
right,
especially when no one is parked there.
right.
Maybe that might be even a better solution than simply eliminating, because that way, if you did have a handicap accessible vehicle, they could exit out on the ramp still on the right-hand side, and then still immediately would be a ramp for them to get to on the corner there. So
Yeah.
that might be a possibility that, if you're willing, I think Matt and I can work together to explore.
Or maybe even the one right over here, the one closest to the post
No,
office.
so where that Silver Escape, I think it is,
Yeah,
parked right now?
right.
Right there,
Mhm, but
yeah,
Then again, there, when you just make, that would be a good one for there.
in
And
that
possibly the
area.
other one in front of the post office.
Would you like us to maybe take a look at
I
that?
would like to see that.
I think it would be if we're gonna do it, I think we really should do it, because like I said, I'm sure the data, to the chief's point, doesn't support, nor would I want to spend $3,000 to have a bunch of cars run over rubber tubing to show us what we already know about the traffic counts. We've all seen that. It doesn't serve our purpose, and the state's gonna come back saying you're fine the way you are. And I don't think we're fine the way we are.
But at the same time, it does improve the ADA accessibility to that sidewalk too.
Yes, like I said, I think doing the parallel parking, especially closest to the curb there, that would make a huge difference to those of us that have to, imagine that pink car is my pickup truck. You're not gonna be able to see around it in order to see if anyone's coming from the other side of the road until you're well out into the intersection. And some people and I've seen it, I'm sure some of you have seen it as well, as members of the city, people kind of scooch out and they just kind of go, okay, I just got to go for it now because I've already had to wait a whole, 20 seconds of my life. And we've all seen that. And I've just, like I said, I've witnessed a ton of near misses, and those are ones that like I said, that I was personally involved in.
And they also, and Doc, we've all seen it too.
Yeah.
There's a ton of speeding downtown.
Yeah.
on Walworth.
And it's only going to be worse when we have a special event, when those people are not Elkhorn residences, when they're here for Rib Fest, when they're here for Bacon Fest, when they're here for the county fair or the antique show. Those are the people that unfortunately are putting us and them in harm's way, unintentional otherwise, because of we're all used to, like you said, checking 2 and 3 times. So I think that's a great idea. And that was, like I said, I think a way to kind of meet two masters, short of doing a full-blown, multi-$1,000 engineering study.
And actually, right there in front of Vasili's, that one spot was eliminated already.
Correct.
So you could, you're not gonna really be taking any other parking away other than possibly the one spot.
Right.
Right. And making
In theory.
it more accessible for those that are handicapped.
And believe it or not, the same posture that the chief's talking about is why big box stores now, like Walmart's and Home Depot, et cetera, if you notice when you're going up and down the aisles, or even at Hanson's, the handicap stalls are parallel park now. They're not pull in, pull out for just that, not at Hanson's, but at like Walmart's.
And the Piggly Wigglies.
And Piggly Wigglies, yeah. So they actually, because they know, they're either, mobility or visually or otherwise impaired. So why make them back into people or back out of people? They make them parallel park. It's a lot safer for everybody, and it gives you better line of sight at the end of that aisle. So I think we should take a page out of their playbook, most definitely. Even if it's only 1 or 2 of the four places it could potentially take place. Maybe it works that we do it in all 4 corners. I don't know.
I would say
Yeah.
at least across the street where the old Napa was, right where we're looking now. Because coming through there and
Oh, in
trying to
front
get
there?
out,
Yeah.
right in that spot there, and wherever you see it, coming through that intersection, when you're looking to the left, it's hard to see anything.
Yep.
And that would be the best place if you're gonna put it, was anywhere that you have to look left to get out into the intersection.
Possibly. I think I need to check, or I know my partner here was going to check with other people as well, because I think the only concern I have, Dan, if if the handicap, like entrance to the sidewalk is in front,
Mhm.
I don't know if that's acceptable from DOT's perspective because you're not seeing a person potentially in a mobility device. Whereas if they're going to the rear and then accessing the sidewalk immediately, traffic or the driver, the motorist that's going that direction is always seeing them. I just don't want them to be hidden by a parked car. So I don't know what those DOT engineer standards are. And I know Matt was going to be looking into that for that other business as well.
Okay, maybe it's just something we can look at
Yeah.
and see.
Most certainly.
All right.
So, do we have any other discussion on this? Shall we table this then and have the chief?
I
and-
would say,
engineer
you
bring
know,
it
have
back?
the chief and Matt take a look at it and come back to us.
Do it next
Then we
month,
can
maybe?
review it again and then possibly make a decision from there. So make no decision at this point,
Right.
other than directing them to do what they're already thinking of.
Okay,
Do you think it's feasible or reasonable, chief, to look at all four corners? Or are you thinking just specifically just look at the one spot at facilities and that would alleviate the whole issue? I'm just concerned that if we only make it just that one corner, is that really effective enough to take care of all the issues? I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there.
Well, the vision triangle obviously is at all locations. I don't know, there's limited parking in front of the post office already. If you were to put, they have a handicap that's diagonal there
Right.
already.
But there's already a no parking there, so why couldn't we consider making that another parallel parking for handicap?
But that's not the issue because that's free flow traffic there.
Oh, okay, got
So
you,
that's
got you.
not,
Okay,
that's not the issue. It's those limited stalls that are in front of the post office.
fair enough.
And
Well,
generally.
maybe it'll only work with one or two spots, who knows?
Yeah, and generally speaking, there's not a great a lot of parking in front of US Bank currently either.
And that's a fairly, sorry, that's a fairly open corner. The one in front of Napa, is that, Mick, can you spin to that one? Is that first spot in front of Napa, is that a no parking?
No.
Okay.
And that's where I was going, with my original comment was, maybe we should eliminate those last spots if, you know, like that one right there on the corner. If we make that a no parking, that will give you a little bit more sight. If we do the same thing on the other side of the curb, now I know that's gonna be taking up, you know, 3 downtown parking spots, but what's that cost if it means it's safer,
life, yeah.
you know?
Possibly.
That's why I said I would like you guys to consider if it's feasible, you know, if it's workable.
Yeah, let Matt and I to take a look at what
Okay,
kind of DOT standards are for that
Thank you,
parallel
Ken.
parking there.
Okay,
If I may add
Oh,
one
yeah.
more thing?
Sure.
I appreciate the conversation that's going on and you're looking into this. I think you also need to really take a hard look at that in front of that post office. Because as you're coming across going south on Washington to sneak out there to get past anybody that's parked in front of the post office, people that are coming from Lincoln up Walworth, they're gunning it a little bit. You know, only because it's a little bit of an incline and they want to get up there quick to get up on the road. So as Scott had said, you can get out there and then all of a sudden you got to go like hell to get across. And a lot of times I've seen near misses as well, and I've been involved in a couple where you're out there, this guy's starting to come up, I got to go, and you turn and there's somebody coming down from Wisconsin. So I think that's a bad spot in there as well. So if you could also, you know, take a look at that, I'd appreciate it very
we'll
much.
look at all, come up
Thank
with
you.
good options. Thank you. All right, next item. This is another one for the chief here.
It is.
Discussion and possible decision regarding police department policy
Thank you.
1015.
Yes, so this is the accommodation and awards policy that, I would say, actually, Captain Brandel, Sergeant Croak, and then Casey, from HR have been working primarily on, and with just some small edits on my end, and, Adam has also helped out too. So the policy is before you that we're looking to implement. I can answer any questions on it.
I have no questions. I think it makes sense.
Throw to me. It's good. So if we
I'd make a
have
motion to approve it.
And forward it to the next council meeting.
Yep.
Do we have a second? We have a motion and a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If there's no further discussion, All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion is carried to forward it to the next council meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your hard work and showing up early tonight. And this meeting is adjourned.